Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 304. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Mondays with Mello, and I'm back. Took a week off, needed it. Had to focus on content, obviously. Blogs for next year. I think that's my biggest project right now. And just planning things, putting things in place to where 2024 will be a great year. Not to say that I still don't have goals for the rest of this year. Today's topic, watching the world. Right? Let's get into it. Now, the amount of time I spend watching the world and everything that's going on around me is astronomical. I'm always focused on things that can motivate or inspire me. And the majority of my content comes from watching the world around me. And what I mean by that is I engage, with people in conversations, and, some people I can go in depth and have more in-depth conversations about life and things that are going on around us and getting their thoughts and their opinions, or I'm sharing a story about my life and then it correlates to what they're dealing with or have experienced, and it may give me an idea, right? And one of my really good friends, and she's near and dear to my heart, we talk about life when we have time, when the opportunity is there. And one day I was just stumped. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to write, for next year as far as blogs and content, things of that nature. I needed to talk to her, but she was busy, But the next day we were able to talk, and she gave me a few blog ideas, and I was like, oh, see, this is why I needed you yesterday, right? So it's all in, just having conversations with people and watching the world. And that's what I mean by that. And, with me being empathic, I feel so much and understand a lot. And, there's so many world issues that are going on daily, as you guys know. Now, staying focused on various social issues is hard when I have so many that I want to write about. But I do pay attention to stories, social media, conversations with people, and their thoughts. It's how, the ideas formulate for me, and that's how they keep coming to me. It's not necessarily, just me sitting in my room and going, well, what book do I want to write about next? Nah, it really doesn't work that way. A lot of times it can be experiences that I've been through, experiences that, friends have been through, things that, I've seen in the past, that it's like, all right, well, let's revisit this and, write a story about it to where we can start a conversation. And, sometimes, I'll spend time in parks or walking the city, well, in New York City, I can do that. Living here, there are parks and things like that, but I don't get that inspired with that. But I do that with my music on and just watching what's going on around me. I will admit I did do that a lot in Los Angeles. I can literally, their beaches is along a whole strip. So there's, I don't remember how many beaches along this long strip on Los Angeles. And you can literally walk it, bike it, whatever you want to do. And you can just pretty much just do whatever you want. Like one day I literally walked 3 beaches within one day and then walked back and then, went back to my Airbnb. And, you have music on and you just, you're watching people, observing, and, you're, trying to gauge ideas. I mean, look, California has beautiful weather. Hey, it's 80 degrees, you're in the middle of summer. Sometimes it's closer to 90, but, that's where my ideas come from. I tend to read unbiased articles on social issues and what's plaguing us. I'm immersing myself in whatever I can get my hands and mind on that will allow me to learn and write the stories that I do. Sometimes I don't, go all in on a certain book because I know that down the road I'm probably going to extend that and maybe another story that will sound better, or it will bring the story out more. Sometimes you don't want to overwrite a book. Sometimes you don't want to include too many topics of discussion because it can get confusing and, things can become convoluted. I tend to watch television content and be able to get ideas from TV shows and movies to develop books. I'm going to admit I watched a Netflix documentary. It was a one-shot deal, 1 hour and like 45 minutes. And it is on something major, with social issues. I'm not going to say exactly what I watched and all that stuff because it's a very sensitive subject and I don't want, this to become an issue, with all of the platforms that I publish my podcast on. But I will say it affects women in today's world, and it's something that really needs to be addressed. And it's, something that literally irritates me and bothers me, especially because 80% of my family are women. So after watching that documentary, it gave me a book idea. And it's a very controversial one. And I've only shared it with my mother. The irony with my mom is when I do have conversations with her about, stuff, and I say, oh, I watched something on Netflix, or I watched on my Apple TV, or I watched something on Hulu, and I got a book idea. At this point, my mother's like, oh, you got a book idea. What a surprise. So that's basically how my mother and I's relationship is. She just knows, that I watch content, the book ideas are going to come, whatever the case is. So I have a book idea based off of that. Now, a TV show can give me an idea, and I'll write a book from a perspective that no one thought of. And that's the fun part of, challenging myself to see how far I can go, see, what kind of story I can craft. I like to, do these things on a regular basis. That's how I keep my mind fresh. Now, how can I get someone to think from another perspective than what's constantly being shown to them, right? So that's where the challenge comes from. And that's also where my fulfillment comes in, especially when I can take on a challenge of writing stories that don't directly impact me, but it affects other people in the world. It's what most of my content is, subject matter that hasn't affected me, but it has affected others that I may know, or just people in the world in general. And that's the beauty of storytelling. The ability to shape minds and bring more conversations on making changes to better the world. And for me, that's the most important component. Now, with all of the things that are going on in this world right now, sadly, I've written about it years ago and predicted that this was going to happen. And it's not like delving into, the Bible and biblical scriptures. It's just not even that. It's just me watching and observing the world and seeing things for what they are. It's just being in reality, in a convoluted reality. I don't even want to say this is really reality, but more of a convoluted reality. And watching the world is good. And it's also bad for me. It has my heart on strings. But I wouldn't change it for the world. And that is one thing that I can truthfully say. I'm not someone who's, going to be like, yeah, I write about a lot of bad things and it brings me down. Early on when I was writing about a lot of controversial stuff, yeah, it kind of put a drag on things. But as time went on, I started writing, other books and other content to where, we need to be thankful for where we are in our lives, and we need to really embrace where we are sometimes. Sometimes we're in a rut. Sometimes we're down in the dumps. Sometimes we lose, some of the most important components of our lives. But, we need that support system. We need people to be there for each other. And those are the things that matter the most. So with that said, that's my podcast for today. I thank you for listening. As always, theaquariummindpodcast.com is the website. The website is pretty efficient and fluid to, listen to my podcast, and you can find whatever podcast that you want instead of doing the whole scroll thing all over the place. So just an option for you. But like I said, if you're on certain platforms and you love it and you listen to all your other podcasts there, great. Stay there and share my podcast if you get an opportunity. All right. Have a good week. Stay tuned for Wednesday Motivation Inspiration, Book Insight Friday. Be good and go accomplish your goals.